What's happening? Thanks for joining me on this Friday. It is much appreciated. Usually we break down lots of different aspects of the game coming up, break down a bunch of numbers. We will have some of that, but I really believe that heading into Sunday is more about the bigger picture questions that need to be asked and hopefully will be answered on Sunday. So, before we get to each side of the football, let's get to some of the bigger questions that I have for this Jets game. There was a team meeting this week by the Patriots, and you have to ask, will the players actually take that meeting to heart? Will they absorb what was told to them? Jawan Bentley apparently had a lot to say. The coaches had a lot to say about rehabbing harder, working harder, eating better. Do the players actually take that advice? Do most of them, if not all of them, take this team meeting as something serious, understand they have to get better, they have to get more professional, and act accordingly on Sunday? That's question number one. Question number two, will this team buy in to Coach Mayo after his soft comment in London? Is this team going to buy in? Because the coach, even though he tried to backtrack, the coach called out the team after that brutal Jaguar loss in London last weekend. He called his team soft across the board. Soft is one of those words you don't usually use in sports, especially when you talk about the NFL. The fact that Mayo called the team soft, I want to see if this team, if this roster is willing to actually buy in to Mayo's messaging as they get ready for this game. Do we see the energy? Do we see the pride? Do we see that from those guys? Home game, in division game, 1-6, season on the brink of being completely lost. Does this team on Sunday buy in? Do they look like they care? Do they look like they understand the gravity of the comments that have been made by Gerard Mayo? That's what I'm wondering. Question number three. If the Patriots get off to a slow start on Sunday, does the team quit? If they get off to a slow start, they get down by, let's say, 2 scores. They get down by, a 10-0 or a 14-0 score. If they get down early, they don't get off to a very strong start. Does the team just quit? Does the team tap out? And I don't mean every single guy that's out there on the field. I mean, do we see some of that from some of the players? Slow start, you're 1-6, you look around, you say, this ain't working out. We're not going to win. This team's not good enough. I don't trust the coaching staff. I'm tired of this crap already. We're 2 months into the season. We're not getting any better. I'm done. Do we see some of that quit on Sunday? Could Gerard Mayo actually lose some of the team on Sunday if they get off to that bad start? These are the bigger questions that need to be answered because, frankly, I can sit here and break down the Jets. I can break down the Patriots. I could talk about this matchup all day, every day. But frankly, if the Patriots, some of these guys want to quit, it doesn't matter what I break down. If these guys don't buy in from the jump, it doesn't matter what the pressure rate numbers are. If these guys don't believe in the team meeting they had this week, then none of it freaking matters. That's why we start with those 3 questions. Nothing else matters about Sunday if this team doesn't want to show up. And I hope they show up. I'm actually going to be at Gillette Stadium on Sunday. My wife and I are going to this game. We bought tickets last night. You might think I'm crazy. I want to go to an NFL game. I want to have a couple of beers. I want to hang out on a football Sunday. So I'm going to be there on Sunday. Last time I was there on a Sunday, they got absolutely mollywopped by the New Orleans Saints. Last year, paid hundreds of dollars for those tickets to see them embarrassed at home. Hopefully, I don't have to see that on Sunday. Hopefully, we have a team that fights. Hopefully, we have a team that buys in. Hopefully, we have a team that understands why they had that team meeting this week, and they take that team meeting seriously, and they start to turn some things around. Do I think this team is an 8-win team, 7-win team? Hell no. I didn't think that from the beginning. I had them winning 5 games. I also said I wouldn't be surprised if they won 3 or if they won 7, depending on how the year went. Are they healthy? Is this coaching staff better than we thought it was going to be? So 5 seemed right to me, but I would not be shocked if they won 3. I said it before the season kicked off. So here we are. I mean, we're at the precipice of this season being absolutely broken. Do the guys in that uniform on Sunday understand that, appreciate it, and play better football, execute at a higher level? That, above everything else, is the most important thing about this game on Sunday. Does this team care? Do these guys give a crap? That's the first thing I'm watching for on Sunday. All right, before we get to the Patriots offense against this Jets defense, take a little bit of your time. Doesn't take a lot. Also doesn't cost you anything, but make sure you hit that thumbs up button as you're watching this podcast on the YouTube channel. Every thumb up is a like. More likes means more eyeballs. That's how we slap that algorithm in the face. And don't forget to throw a comment in as well. Do you think the Patriots are going to quit on Sunday? Or do you expect them to show up with energy? Do you expect them to show up with some pride and to actually buy into the messaging from their head coach, look in the mirror and play better football and execute at a higher level? Do you think this coaching staff is going to be better than it's been? Throw some comments in, because every comment, that also helps beat that algorithm. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I saw this morning, we're about 250 subscribers away from hitting our goal of 5,000. You can help us out by subscribing, clicking that notify bell, and enjoy yourself. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Pods, don't forget to rate and review. All right, Patriots offense, Jets defense. Let's get into it now that we talked about the bigger questions. Hassan Reddick is expected to play his first game with the Jets. That was announced earlier today by interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich. So Reddick will be out there on the field on Sunday. The Jets are also getting back not one, but 2 cornerbacks. Michael Carter and DJ Reed will both be back and playing on Sunday. So if the Patriots were hoping this was going to be a dinged up, thin defense, nope. Jets are getting 2 cornerbacks back in the rotation, and they're getting Reddick out there at the edge. Now, will Reddick play a bunch of snaps? I would think not, because of his holdout, but you never know. I don't know what shape he's in. So Reddick will be out there. Carter and Reed will be out there. This is a big week for Alex Van Pelt. Big week for Alex Van Pelt. This is the second time he's playing against the Jets, right? So show me, Alex. Show me what you learned from the first matchup, and show me how you're going to adjust to what the Jets did to you the first time around. If the Jets come out doing some of the same stuff to you on Sunday, do you know how to counteract that? Do you know how to adjust? It's a big week for Van Pelt. A common opponent now. You know, you got two games, a second game against the Jets. You should have a better idea on how to attack this defense, because you've already game planned for them once and you already played against them once. Will we see that? Now, Greg Bedard, my buddy, said last weekend that there were some things about the offense that were actually better. He said the route concepts from the wide receivers were better. The pass protection plan from Van Pelt was better. Well, at least we're taking baby steps. At least Alex Van Pelt realized by week 7 that you might want to help your backup offensive tackles. Took him long enough, but at least he got there. So hopefully he remains there and understands that if you're dealing with some backup tackles, you're going to have to help those guys with chips from the tight ends and the running backs. We finally saw more of that last weekend. We've been asking for it for weeks. We finally got there last week. Route concepts, looking better according to Greg. So that's also a small step towards the right direction. The Jets, they are 6th in the NFL in pressure rate. They get pressure on 39.5% of the dropbacks, okay? So they're the 6th best pressure rate in football. When they played against the Patriots in week 3, their yearly average, again, is 39.5%. Against the Patriots week 3, their pressure rate was 45.7%. So they got much better pressure against the Patriots in week 3 than they've gotten against other teams throughout the season. But they're still a pretty damn good pass rush. When you're getting almost 40% of a pressure rate, that's good. Without Robert Saleh, who they fired, of course, lots of changes from the last time we saw the Jets in week 3. Without Robert Saleh, the Jets are actually playing more man coverage. They're playing man coverage 45.9% of the time. What can Alex Van Pelt do? Well, let's see some rub routes. Let's see some mesh. Let's see some bunch formations. Let's see something, anything that can try to attack man coverage, because we haven't seen a lot of rub routes. We haven't seen a lot of mesh. We haven't seen a ton of bunch formation, if at all. Will Van Pelt show some of that on Sunday? I'm at the point where I have to see it before I believe it. But those are concepts. Those are things that you can do to attack man coverage. And the Jets are playing a lot of man coverage. Maybe Van Pelt will do what he's been doing, which he'll show up. The first 15 plays, the script will look good conceptually. And then as the game goes along, he'll lose himself. But maybe not. We'll see. We'll see if those rub routes are out there, those pick routes. We'll see if they have anything in store for the Jets that looks different than what we've seen already to this point. In the Steelers game on Monday night or Sunday night, the first half, if you were watching that game, and I went back and I watched this game over again during the week, and one thing the Jets had trouble with the Steelers in the first half was play action bootleg to tight ends. The Jets had all sorts of trouble with that. Washington went off for a couple of big plays, couple of chunk plays. Freiermuth went for a big play. And, of course, that's something the Patriots do. That's something that Van Pelt does. The play-action, bootleg, roll out with Drake May, and you have that tight end kind of leak off the offensive line, right? He blocks for a second, and then he springs free. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that 2 or 3 times on Sunday. As a matter of fact, we should see that at least 2 or 3 times on Sunday. Because if you're Van Pelt and you're watching that film, you see the Steelers, they had a lot of success in the first half with that. Now, the Jets, they did adjust. They got better. They got better against the play-action bootleg to the tight end. And they had that covered in the second half. But I still think you can find some opportunities if you're this Patriots offense running some of those plays against the Jets on Sunday. We'll see if they do it. I hope they do. Will the Patriots run the football more? The Jets are number 5 in the NFL in run-stop win rate, so they've done a pretty good job against the run, but there could be some openings. What I want to see is whether or not there'll be some creativity from Van Pelt with the run game, or will we see the same old, same old? Will we see some tosses, some pitches? Now, you could look at this Jets defense and say sideline to sideline, they do a pretty good job. In the second half, late in that game, the Steelers, they were tossing them to death. Tossing to the outside and attacking the perimeter. Now, of course, the Jets defense could have been a little bit gassed, and that made it easier to get to the edge and pick up some yardage. But there's some things that Van Pelt can do instead of running into a brick wall to help this run game. We talked about it on Monday after the Jags loss. Are we going to see designed runs for Drake May? Would seem like a good idea to me. Will we see a jet sweep or two? I think that would be a good idea with Pop Douglas. Will we see a couple of wide receiver screens on early downs if the run game's not working? I sure as hell hope so. There are things that you can do to help this run game if it's not going great. That's if it's not going great. Patriots ran the football pretty well against the Jets earlier in the year. And the Steelers, they got some push on the interior offensive line against that defensive line of the Jets. So we'll see. We'll see if Van Pelt changes anything about his run game attack on Sunday. How about wide receiver? I want to know from you. You're watching this show. What do you think we'll see from the wide receivers on Sunday? Who do you think plays? Who do you think gets most of the snaps? What do you want to see happen? Because this week has been a very rocky week for that wide receiver room. Kayshon Boutte complaining about not getting enough targets. KJ Osborne sounding like he wants to be traded. Gerard Mayo was asked about Osborne today, and he just said, he's here now, and he's going to play on Sunday. So there's some thought that KJ Osborne has asked to be traded. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But I wouldn't find it to be unrealistic. So you've got some drama with Boutte and Osborne. Jalen Polk is in the concussion protocol. He was not at practice today, so Jalen Polk not going to play on Sunday. At least I wouldn't expect him to. Mayo today was talking up Tyquan Thornton, so apparently we're back to the Tyquan Thornton days. Sounds like Thornton is going to get an opportunity on Sunday. What do you expect? What do you anticipate? What I hope to see is a lot of Boutte, Osborne, and Kendrick Bourne. That's what I want to see. If Polk's not out there, I also would like to see the Patriots give Javon Baker a shot. Make him active. Throw him out there a few times. I know he's run some wrong routes. I know he's dropped some footballs during camp, but you're 1-6, and Baker might be able to add a little bit of a spark for you. So I would not be against this idea of playing Javon Baker a few snaps on Sunday. Tyquan Thornton, I don't want to see him a lot. I mean, we know what he is. Now, I know that Mayo said he had a great week of practice, but Tyquan Thornton's been Tyquan Thornton. Maybe he'll shock us on Sunday. Maybe. And maybe on Monday I'll say, oh, well, I was wrong. And Tyquan, there he was on Sunday making plays for the first time in like a year and a half, 2 years. The last time I remember was like that Cleveland game, right? Like a year or two ago when he made some plays. I think he had one touchdown, if not two. Other than that, Thornton's been a ghost. So I would like to see Booty Osborne out there, Kendrick Bourne, and give Javon Baker a shot. A question for the Patriots and Van Pelt. Can you cancel out the impact guys of the Jets? Can you limit Hassan Reddick, who's going to be playing on Sunday? Can you limit Will McDonald? Will McDonald was a major, major headache in that Steelers game in the pass rush. He had 3 or 4 plays that could just ruin a drive if you're the Patriots. So you got to make sure he lines up on the defensive left side, which means your right tackle has to be ready. Can you limit Will McDonald's pass rush? Can you limit Hassan Reddick's pass rush? Can you take care of Quinnen Williams in the middle? This is going to be the biggest challenge without a shadow of a doubt for Ben Brown. He's looked okay. Given the circumstances against Houston, he looked really good. Handled himself very well. Last week wasn't as good, but was okay. Well, now you have a big challenge with Quinnen Williams. And Williams was a headache against the Steelers. He made a handful of plays last Sunday night against Pittsburgh. So what do you do with Quinnen Williams? Can Ben Brown handle himself against those guys? So that's going to be a big question. Who starts on the offensive line? That's a big question as well. Layden Robinson did not practice. I don't think Robinson will be out there on Sunday. Would not expect him to play. There is some optimism surrounding Vidarian Lowe. He was out there practicing today. He told reporters that he felt pretty good. So it sounds like Vidarian Lowe could play left tackle on Sunday. Now, if you get Lowe back at left tackle, I think that means you move Trey Jacobs to right tackle, and then Mike Owenu goes back to right guard. So if Vidarian Lowe plays on Sunday, I think you will have Lowe at left tackle, Michael Jordan at left guard, Ben Brown at center, Owenu at right guard, and then you'll have Jacobs at right tackle. I think that's the offensive line we're looking at. And honestly, the offensive line, when it comes to run blocking, has been pretty bad. I think that has to do with a lot of the shuffling the last couple weeks. But pass protection, with Drake May helping with some of his mobility, it hasn't been as bad as it was the first month and a half. I just want to see Vidarian Lowe get through a full game. Can he get through a full football game? Because honestly, Lowe hasn't been bad at left tackle. When he's been out there, when he's been healthy, he has not been bad. But can he stay healthy? Can he string together a couple of games? Because if you can have Lowe string together a couple of games at left tackle, Jordan had a bad week last week, but before then he was playing well. Again, Ben Brown's been okay. Owenu has to be better with the money he's making, and hopefully sticking at right guard will bring some more consistency. And then you can help Jacobs at right tackle. So we'll see how it all comes together. All right, I'm going to get to the defense in a minute or so, but don't forget to give us the like. Those likes help us beat that algorithm. So click that thumbs up as you watch on YouTube. Always helps us. And on a Friday, why not help us out before you head into the weekend, right? Before you go out, do what you do. Before I go to the Patriots game on Sunday, click that thumbs up. Give us that like. Don't forget to throw a comment in, and do not forget to subscribe. We're about 250 subscribers away from hitting our goal of 5,000. You can help us out by doing that. Spotify, Apple Pods, peeps. Don't forget to rate and review. All right, Patriots defense. Lots of questions about the defense, right? Lots of questions after what we saw in London last weekend. And, of course, you've got the New York Jets, who just added Devontae Adams. This will be his second game with the Jets, playing alongside Aaron Rodgers again. Elijah Vera Tucker is going to be out of this football game. one of the best offensive linemen for the Jets. So that's a break for the Patriots. Morgan Moses, their right tackle, who's had some issues from time to time and had some issues against Will McDonald, as I said, in that matchup. When you look at, actually he had some issues with the Pittsburgh pass rush, and he's got some penalty issues, but Morgan Moses is likely going to play. Their starting right tackle. Alan Lazard is a game-time decision, so that could impact the pass game a little bit. And you also have to wonder about Aaron Rodgers. Is Rodgers healthy? How healthy is he? He seems that he's, accumulating injuries, and he's 40 years old at this point. So, is he going to be as mobile as he was against the Patriots in week 3? Rodgers is dealing with a knee issue, an ankle issue, a hamstring issue popped up this week. So is he going to be fully mobile? Because we remember week 3, Rodgers killed you. He absolutely eviscerated you with his legs, which was a shock. Before that game, you didn't see Rodgers use his legs much. Since that game, you haven't seen him use his legs a ton. But week 3 against the Patriots, he looked like Aaron Rodgers from like 5 years ago. Well, now with the knee, the ankle, the hammy, is he going to be able to do that? Break, contain, and scramble for 10 to 15 yards? Extend plays. Is he going to be able to do that consistently on Sunday with some of these ailments? I'll tell you this. Watching the film, watching Rodgers, especially against the Steelers last weekend, he's going to get the football out quickly. I mean, his internal clock is almost rushed. He strikes me as a guy who just doesn't want to take a lot of hits, which is smart. Again, he's 40 years old. He knows a lot of times he's a sitting duck at the quarterback position in that pocket, but he's getting rid of the football quickly, really, really quick on the trigger. And if you watch the Steelers game, I was watching it. If you watch the All-22, there were actually times when Rodgers, if he was willing to wait a half a second longer, his wide receivers would have uncovered deeper downfield, and they could have come up with some explosive plays. But Rodgers is almost unwilling to hold on to the football beyond 2.5 seconds or so. So you'll see. He'll get the snap. He'll read a progression quickly. 1, 2. If nobody's open within like a second and a half, 2 seconds, he gets rid of the football. Even if there are concepts down the field that will take a little bit longer to develop, he's going to bail and check down. He is not going to wait consistently for those deeper routes to get open. He wants to get rid of the ball as fast as possible, and you saw it all night against the Steelers last weekend. So when you look at some of these numbers, the Jets' offensive line, their pressure rate, the pressure rate for the Jets' O-line, the lowest in football. So the Jets have given up the least amount of pressure in the NFL this year, 25.2%. Against the Patriots, they were 20th that week when it came to giving up some pressure. So they've done a good job. They've done a really good job not giving up pressure. However, devil's in the details. Because when you look at it, their offensive line is only 24th in pass block win rate. So how in the world are you 24th in pass block win rate, which means your offensive linemen are losing one-on-one battles for the pass rush? How are you 24th in the NFL in that statistic, but you've given up the least amount of pressure? How? I just told you how. Aaron Rodgers. He's getting rid of the football quickly. It's not because the Jets' offensive line doesn't give up pressure. It's not because they have this unbelievable offensive line and pass protection, all-world pass protection offensive line. It's because the quarterback doesn't allow pressure to happen. He gets that football, he wants to get rid of it. So as long as the Jets' offensive line holds their water for like 2 seconds, Rodgers is going to get the ball out. And so the statistic as far as pressure rate and the fact that the Jets have the lowest pressure rate in football, that has a lot more to do with Rodgers than it does with the actual offensive line. The question for me, will we see Rodgers look like he looked in week 3? Because week 3, by far, was Aaron's best game of the year. Again, he obliterated the Patriots. I'll give you some stats to prove it, okay? Rodgers had a renaissance game against DeMarcus Covington's defense in week 3. Rodgers this year in the NFL, he's 7th in touchdowns with 10, 2 of those against New England week 3. Rodgers is tied for second in interceptions, most interceptions with 7. He did not throw a pick against the Patriots. Rodgers this year, his passer rating, he's 24th in the NFL in passer rating. Week 3 against the Patriots, he was 9th in passer rating. Rodgers is 24th in QBR this year. Week 3, he was 7th in the league. You see the trend? Yards per attempt. Rodgers doesn't throw a lot of deep balls anymore. He'll take shots at one-on-ones, but again, he's kind of impatient waiting for receivers to get uncovered. When you look at his yards per attempt, he's 26th in football, but against the Patriots, week 3, he was 13th that week. In EPA, expected points added, Rodgers is 23rd in the NFL. Against the Patriots in week 3, he was 4th in the NFL. Completion percentage over expected. Rodgers is 31st in the league. He's been one of the worst quarterbacks when it comes to completion percentage over expected. Against the Patriots, he was the 4th best quarterback in week 3 with that statistic. What you saw week 3 in Aaron Rodgers is literally an anomaly for 2024. That is the best Rodgers looked. He did not look anywhere near as good before that game. He has not looked anywhere near as good since that game. So it does beg the question, is Rodgers going to feast on Covington's defense again? Because you can pretty much throw those numbers out, what Rodgers has done this year. And if you just look at week 3, you wonder, right? Rodgers could look great again on Sunday and then revert back to the guy he's been for most of this year. So what kind of Rodgers are we going to see? Are we going to see the Rodgers from week 3 again against this defense? Or will we see Rodgers take a step back? He, of course, as I mentioned, he has Davante Adams now as well. And now he's had another week of practice under his belt with Adams. So I think all of us should anticipate Davante Adams being a bigger piece of the puzzle on Sunday than he was against the Steelers. But really, we could talk about Rodgers and we could talk about Adams, but I go back to the Patriots and the bigger picture questions. Can the Patriots execute? Can they just execute? There's been this whole conversation about talent and lack of talent. I thought my friend Greg Bedard wrote a great column this week about the defense and how, yes, it would obviously help if they had some guys healthy, if they had more talent on the field. But when you watch the film, they are struggling with the fundamentals. They are struggling with the basics, which is why I criticize the coaching staff as much as I do. You know, people want to get wrapped up in the roster and all of that. If you watch what this team is doing, structurally, doesn't make much sense. And fundamentally, they are falling well short. It's not just a talent problem. If this team was coached better, they could be 3-4. They should have beat Seattle. They should have beat Miami. So some of this, if not most of it, comes down to just the fundamentals and executing at a higher level. Making sure that you have a gap filled against the run game. Making sure you don't bust coverage like Marcus Jones did last week in the red zone. Executing at a higher level. Bedard wrote about the defense against the Jaguars. Here's what he wrote. This was one of 3 things as far as the bad defense goes against Jacksonville last weekend, or a combination of them. Either the Patriots were unprepared, they were not ready to play this game, or the players tabbed to be on the field just couldn't mentally handle it. Greg writes, I can't tell you which one it was, but all I can tell you is the Patriots were completely inept against the Jaguars. In the span of 14 plays, I want you to absorb this. In the span of 14 plays, the Patriots had 5 blown gap assignments. That's not talent, folks. And Greg, he has the film embedded in his column. And he goes through 14, 15 minutes of defensive film. And he will show you, this guy is supposed to be in this gap. And he's not in the gap. This guy is supposed to be in that gap. He's not in that gap. 5 blown gaps. in a span of 14 plays against the Jaguars. So once every 3 snaps, somebody was not lined up correctly. Not a talent problem. It's a coaching issue. Players not even in the gaps because of mental errors. Those blown gaps accounted for 41 yards and a touchdown. Also, as part of those 14 plays, the Patriots busted 2 coverages, which accounted for 64 yards and a touchdown. So 105 of 150 yards and 2 touchdowns were due to 7 mental errors in the span of 14 plays against the Jags. 1 out of every 2 plays, somebody mentally screwed up. And it resulted in 2 touchdowns. Pretty much game, set, match at that point. So they're just not executing. As Greg wrote, it's flat out embarrassing. And Andrew Callahan says, Covington this week, DeMarcus Covington told the media he expects the Jets to play through heavy personnel just like they did in week 3, because teams are putting heavy personnel out there saying, all right, we play heavy, you play heavy, we're going to kill you because you're just not good enough. The Jets were the first team to rush for 100-plus yards against the Pats. They often played with multiple running backs or tight ends. Can they execute better? Against the run game, are their run fits right? Are those linebackers in the gaps where they're supposed to be? You can't just blow. You just can't blow the gaps in the run game and expect to be good against the run. You can't bust a coverage and expect to be good in coverage. This stuff is very, very rudimentary. And that's a coaching thing. When the players out there are not brushed up on the fundamentals, they're not sure where to line up. Again, it could be the coach giving those players too much to execute, putting too much on the plate, or the coaches just are not coaching them up enough. Fundamentals, execution. It's not just, talent problem, that's why. A lot of the stuff you watch with this team, it's what are we doing? It's the same thing last week with AVP offensively. Just deciding to run the football on first down, running into a brick wall without doing any adjusting, without any creativity. It's a coaching problem there. I'm not saying the Patriots would have beat the Jaguars, but damn, they would have had a better shot. So can the Patriots execute? Will the Patriots get out of base personnel? That's another coaching thing. Covington has continued to play a lot of base personnel on defense, which is heavy personnel, and it's not working. They haven't been aggressive enough, and their base personnel is getting torched. Evan Lazar wrote this: the defense continues to struggle in base personnel. New England is allowing the 3rd most yards per play when they're in base defense, which they play at the 4th highest rate in the league. I'm going to repeat that. The Patriots, when they're in base personnel, have given up the 3rd most yards per play in the league this year. But yet they're playing their base personnel at the 4th highest rate. So their base personnel is getting smoked. Covington continues to play a lot of base personnel. Call me crazy, but maybe I would switch that up a little bit. Maybe I would change a few things and not rely on my base personnel so much if it's getting absolutely whooped. The Pats only played, if you're wondering, the Patriots only played base defense on 24.7% of their plays last season. They allowed 3.7 yards per play. So what they're doing is, if you look at last year and Steve Belichick and Bill Belichick, what they did was they didn't play a lot of base personnel. They played less than a quarter of the time in base personnel. This year, they're playing over 41% in base personnel. What does that mean? Again, that means you're playing with more heavy personnel. Patriots are playing more heavy personnel on defense, and they're giving up a lot of yards. And they continue to do it. It's like pounding your head against the wall over and over and over again and not changing anything. Do you try to roll Duggar down in the second level more often? Do you try Marte Mapu at the second level a little bit more often? Do you try Jalen Hawkins in the box? Do you try to just fly to the football more and be a little bit more aggressive? Now, it's going to be tougher to do with the Jets because the Jets, again, they're going to go big. They're going to go big, and they have big wide receivers. And that's going to make it a little bit more difficult. But I would love to see at least some change in these dynamics that we're talking about. Can you put 5 or 6 guys at the line of scrimmage to make sure you're not getting gashed by the run? Even if you're going to give up a pass over the top every once in a while, do you put 5 or 6 at the line of scrimmage and say, you're not running against us this week? Do you run blitz more and say, you're not running the football? We're tired of giving up 180, 190 rushing yards. We're not going to do that this week. We're going to put 5 or 6 guys at the line of scrimmage. We're going to run blitz. We're going to attack your line of scrimmage and make sure that you're not going to run the football down our throat. We're going to force you to adjust. Is that what we will see? The Jets, they don't do a ton of exotic things offensively. You will see that Aaron Rodgers is in the shotgun a ton. He's in just a ton of shotgun. He's hardly ever under center now with Todd Downing, the new OC who took over for Nathaniel Hackett, who's terrible. They do run a little bit more motion, a lot of like single pre-snap motion, wide receiver, right? Wide receiver running that motion. You'll see the Patriots do it with Pop Douglas a lot. You'll see that with the Jets an awful lot. You'll also see some pistol. They ran some pistol formation with Rodgers, which is Rodgers in the shotgun, running back right behind him. They ran some of that against the Steelers. A problem for the Patriots is if you play man coverage, if you want to lean into man coverage, which I think the Patriots should, frankly, they've been better playing man, being a little more aggressive up front. But if you play more man, don't forget what we saw week 3 against the Jets. They were attacking the smaller cornerbacks of the Patriots, right? They were just feeding it to their bigger wide receivers and letting the Jets go to work on the outside, letting those receivers go to work on that outside. Jonathan Jones, by the way, did not practice today. That's an issue. If you don't have Jonathan Jones, do you roll in Marco Wilson? Marco Wilson's not a big dude. Do you go bigger with Alex Austin? Do you go bigger and give a shot with Isaiah Bolden? Because these receivers for the Jets are big. Now, the Patriots might catch a break with that if Lazard doesn't play because Lazard's a big cat, big dude. But those big receivers against the Patriots' smaller cornerbacks outside of Christian Gonzalez, that's a tough matchup. That's a tough matchup. I would put Wilson against Gonzalez. I like that matchup. I think that's what you'll see. Gonzalez versus Wilson. And then double Devontae Adams, especially if Jonathan Jones is out of this game. You got to double. You got to double Devontae Adams. But I like to see Gonzalez on Wilson, double Adams. If you're going to get beat by their 3rd or 4th receiver. Because that size is going to be an issue. But if the Patriots, if they decide not to play man because they're concerned about the size of their corners against those receivers, especially if you're playing, Jonathan Jones and Marcus Jones, if you go to cover 2, if you go a little bit, if you go a little bit lighter, if you go a little bit lighter out there, here's the problem. They're going to run the football constantly on you. They're going to constantly run the football. And I forgot Alex Austin is on IR. Thank you, Shark Media. Forgot about that. He's been pretty much a non-factor. I forgot he was placed on IR. But when is it Isaiah Bolden? Is he going to be the guy? But if you go man coverage and they eat you up in man coverage and you move to like cover 2 and get a little bit softer, now they're going to run the football down your throat. So that's the issue the Patriots face. And will they have more pass rush discipline in this game? Again, Rodgers killed them week 3 by extending plays, breaking contain, getting outside, doing those kinds of things. The guys on the edges, they have to contain. They have to make sure that they don't get undisciplined and rush downfield or go inside when they're not supposed to go inside. All right, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We're about 250 subscribers away from hitting 5,000. You can help us by, of course, subscribing yourself. You can also help us by liking this podcast while you watch on YouTube. Give us that thumbs up. More likes means more eyeballs. and throw a comment in. How do you feel? What do you think the Patriots will do on Sunday? I see some of you saying that, the Patriots are going to get beat. A lot of you think the Patriots are going to get beat. I'll give you my prediction in a minute, but don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All right. Here's what I've got. The spread. Jets are laying 7. So you got the Jets -7. The over-under is 41.5. This is somewhat similar to last week when I talked about predicting the game. I told you, I picked the Patriots to win last week. I was not confident. I was not comfortable. The only thing I was confident in was that game last weekend hitting the over, which it did. And the reason why I was not confident, as I said, the Patriots could win. The Jaguars could blow them out. Both teams were so unpredictable going into that game. I feel the same way about this one, where both teams are kind of messy. Like the Jets in that game in the second half against the Steelers, they got sloppy. They had penalties. The offensive line had penalties. Rodgers looked uncomfortable. The coaching staff is still trying to figure itself out. They're trying to get Devontae Adams into this offense. So you got the changes in New York. They're 2-5. They're an all-in team that's only one win better than the Patriots right now. They haven't played well since they beat the Patriots. You got Rodgers dinged up. And then on the other side, you get the Patriots. A week full of drama, embarrassed after that 10-0 start against the Jaguars in London. So both of these teams are not in a great spot right now, and that makes predicting a game difficult. But here's how I feel, like generally speaking. How can I pick the Patriots? How could really anybody pick the Patriots at this point right now with what they've looked like the last couple of weeks and with all of the drama this week? I don't feel like I can pick the Patriots to win a game until they actually compete on the football field. And I'm not really comfortable with many spreads. I'm not comfortable giving the Patriots points until they show me that they can compete. So I'm going with the Jets. I'm laying the 7 points. I would take the over 41.5. I've got the Jets 27, Patriots 17. 27-17, Jets win, Patriots lose, Patriots go to 1-7. But here's what I'll say. If they are competitive on Sunday, it's a step in the right direction. We're looking for baby steps, right? It's all relatively speaking. If they compete in Sunday's game, if they make it tough on the Jets, if they don't get run over defensively, if they execute at a higher level, if the offensive game plan makes sense and they move the ball fairly well, if they compete on Sunday, I think we can feel better about this team. Not that they're going to win, 6, 7, 8 games, but we can at least feel like, well, they competed. And it sounds sad because it is sad, but that's where we're at right now. I just want to see them compete on Sunday, not just only because I'm going to the damn game, but I would like to see competitive football. And so that's what you're looking for. If they win, wow, then they responded to Gerard Mayo and, maybe, just maybe, Mayo hit the right button when he called them soft and then try to backtrack, but whatever. But I'm just looking for competitive football. If they can compete against the Jets on Sunday, it's a step in the right direction. And when you're dealing with a rebuild, that's what you're looking for, a step in the right direction. But I got the Jets 27-17. That's my pick for this week. All right, everybody, don't forget to give us that thumbs up. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Pods, rate and review as always. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the football. We're back on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, live right here on YouTube. Until then, this is the Nick Cattle Show.